Okay, Big Atheist book, page whatever it is, it doesn't have a page number on it, 73. And this is a quote from Albert Einstein. Ever heard of him?
No.
Possibly. Lots of guys. But I'm not. So science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind. What does he mean by that?
They can't go without each other.
Okay, they need one another. Okay.
Yeah, that's more succinct.
What do you think he means by lame?
Like can't walk. Can't do anything.
It's just kind of like
Inhibited.
Yeah.
Can't work properly. Okay. And then religion without science is blind.
It's like a shot in the dark because you actually have no facts behind it.
Okay, irritating facts. It was 1916, and Albert Einstein didn't like where his calculations were leading him. If his theory of general relativity was true, it meant that the universe was not eternal but had a beginning. Einstein's calculations, before this time, before Einstein, the atheists could just say, well, it's always been here. There wasn't it's eternal. So it didn't have a beginning, so it didn't have to have someone begin it. Right? So,
Right, but why would they have said it both?
yes, but what do I want to say?
Be non-practicing.
So here's Jewish by faith, a cultural he's Jewish, not by faith. If his theory of general relativity is true, it meant that the universe was not eternal but had a beginning. Einstein's calculations indeed were revealing a definite beginning of all time, all matter, and all space. This flew in the face of his belief that the universe was static. When you see that word static in this case, it means eternal. It doesn't mean eternal, like unchanging and eternal. Einstein later called his discovery irritating. He wanted the universe to be self-existent, not reliant on any outside cause, but the universe appeared to be one giant effect. In fact, Einstein so disliked the implications of general relativity, a theory that is now proven accurate to 5 decimal places, that he introduced a cosmological constant, which some have since called a fudge factor, into his equations in order to show that the universe is static and to avoid an absolute beginning. But Einstein's fudge factor didn't fudge for long. In 1919, British cosmologist Arthur Eddington conducted an experiment during a solar eclipse which confirmed that general relativity was indeed true. The universe wasn't static, but had a beginning. Like Einstein, Eddington wasn't happy with the implications. He later wrote, philosophically, the notion of the beginning of the present order, the beginning of the universe, of nature, is repugnant to me. That's a strong word. That's a great SAT. It's ACT. I should like to find a genuine loophole. By 1922, Russian mathematician Alexander Friedmann had officially exposed Einstein's fudge factor as an algebraic error. Incredibly, in his quest to avoid a beginning, the great Einstein had divided by 0, something even school children know is a no-no. Meanwhile, Dutch astronomer Wilhelm de Sitter had found that general relativity required the universe to be expanding. And in 1927, the expanding of the universe was actually observed by astronomer Edwin Hubble, namesake of the Space Telescope. Looking through the 100-inch telescope at California's Mount Wilson Observatory, Hubble discovered a red shift in the light from every observable galaxy, which meant that those galaxies were moving away from us. In other words, general relativity was confirmed. The universe appears to be expanding from a single point in the distant past. In 1929, Einstein made a pilgrimage to Mount Wilson to look through Hubble's telescope for himself. What he saw was irrefutable. You couldn't deny it. The observational evidence showed that the universe was indeed expanding as general relativity had predicted. With his cosmological constant now completely crushed by the weight of the evidence against it, Einstein could no longer support his wish for an eternal universe. He subsequently described the cosmological constant as the greatest blunder of my life, and he redirected his efforts to find the box top to the puzzle of life. Einstein said that he wanted, quote, to know how God created the world. I am not interested in this or that phenomenon, in the spectrum of this or that element. I want to know his thoughts. The rest is details. Although Einstein said that he believed in a pantheistic God, a God that is the universe, his comments admitting creation and divine thought better describe a theistic God. And as irritating as it may be, his theory of general relativity stands today as one of the strongest lines of evidence for a theistic God. Indeed, general relativity supports what is one of the oldest formal arguments for the existence of a theistic God, the cosmological constant.
When my family and I we went to where did we go? With Berlin is the yeah, I went to the Yerkes Observatory, which used to belong to the University of Chicago. That doesn't anymore because they donated it because they're like, there's better observatories out there. But anyways, it was built before World War II, and Einstein, when he came over to the U.S. for like the first time, he on his list he had like 3 things. He wanted to see like Niagara Falls and some other thing, and he was like, I have to go to the Yerkes Observatory. So they took him there, and it's got the biggest, like the world's largest telescope or whatever, and it's still functioning. They still do like they still observe astronomy from whatever that word, the stars, the sky, the
I
space.
like it better though.
Yeah.
Sounds like
Order for dinner.
But Einstein went there, and
So we're gonna read up until the top part of 76, and then I'm gonna cut you loose for a little bit.
strong and
The cosmological argument, the beginning of the end for atheism. Don't be put off by the technical sounding name. Cosmological comes from the Greek word cosmos, which means world or universe. That is, the cosmological argument is the argument from the beginning of the universe. If the universe had a beginning, then the universe had a cause. In logical form, the argument goes like this. This is why I taught you about logic. So claim 1, everything that had a beginning had a cause. 2, the universe had a beginning. 3, therefore the universe had a cause. So this is a logical argument. And if 1 and 2 are true, then 3 must be true, right? So everything that had a beginning had a cause. Can you think of something that had a beginning that had no cause? You know why you can't? Because there isn't.
But like little kids just come up with for the sake of coming up with it. Their cause. Not boredom.
Yeah, or their brain. So everything that had a beginning had a cause. The universe had a beginning. We've proven that. Even atheist scientists would tell you the universe had a beginning. They're not happy about it, but they know it's true because the science says it's true. So if everything that had a beginning had a cause, and if the universe had a beginning, then the universe had a cause. Now, we're not proving what that cause is yet, but we have proven that the universe had a cause. So go on. As we showed in the last chapter, for an argument to be true, it has to be logically valid, and its premises must be true. This is a valid argument, meaning that they are listed in a way that if it's true, then it's true because it's the conclusion is based on the premises. So let's take a look at the premises. It's a valid argument, but are the premises true? So let's look at the premises. Premise one, everything that had a beginning had a cause, is the law of causality, which is the fundamental principle of science. Without the law of causality, science is impossible. In fact, Francis Bacon, the father of modern science, said, true knowledge is knowledge by causes. In other words, science is a search for causes. That's what scientists do. They try to discover what caused what. If there's one thing we've observed about the universe, it's that things don't happen without a cause. When a man is driving down the street, a car never appears in front of him, his car, out of nowhere, but with no driver or no cause. We know many a police officer has heard this, but it's just not true. I'm going to refute that. There's always a driver or some other cause behind the car appearing. Even the great skeptic David Hume could not deny the law of causality. He wrote, I never asserted so absurd a proposition as that something could arise without a cause. I was a little bit older than you. I was in my senior year. I think it was fall. I don't know for sure. And I used to go to a youth group called Spirino at what is now Bellevue Christian Center. And it was Bellevue Assembly of God back then. And I went out to my car, which was a 1972 Vega. It's a car that never should have been made. And I unlock my door, and I open the door, and as I see that, I see the car that is parked in front of me is rolling toward my car. I had a fleeting thought of jumping in front of it, but then I thought maybe I want my legs. So I watched it run into my car. No human being. So I walk in.
Nobody breaks it.
So I go back in, I go up to the leader, and I say, a car with no driver just ran into my car. And she gave me a funny look, because that's a funny thing to say. When I later said, well, what would you think if a car with no driver ran into your car? And she said, I don't know. And I'm like, oh, we're here. So anyway, there was a cause. It wasn't a human cause. The emergency brake slipped, or the brake slipped, or whatever, and it rolled. So that's what happened. So it had a cause, but there was no driver. That might be what other people say, but it's true. Okay. So I gotta find where I was. So in fact, did I write this right? I know something could arise without a cause. That's where we started this off, right? In fact, to deny the law of causality is to deny rationality. The very process of rational thinking requires us to put together thoughts, the causes that result in the conclusions, the effects. So if anyone ever tells you he doesn't believe in the law of causality, simply ask that person what caused you to come to that conclusion. Since the law of causality is well established and undeniable premise, premise one is true. What?
We've said it so many times, it doesn't sound right.
What?
Causality and cause and what caused you? Like, it's just,
Okay.
I'm
sorry, it sounds weird, but since the law of causality is well established and undeniable premise, one is true. What about premise two? Did the universe have a beginning? If not, there is no cause needed. If so, the universe must have a cause. So, okay. Until about the time atheists could comfort themselves with the belief that the universe is eternal and thus did not need a cause. But since then, 5 lines of scientific evidence have been discovered that prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the universe indeed had a beginning. And that beginning was what scientists now call the Big Bang. Big Bang evidence can be easily remembered by the acronym search. Now, before I cut you loose here, I want to tell you, like, when we're talking about the Big Bang, we're talking about it differently than atheistic scientists would, right? We're saying that the cause of the Big Bang was God. And remember, Louis said, because what the science tells us and what the Bible tells us is that the universe was created in an instant. And that would have been a Big Bang, right? That's what Louis said. It would have been a pretty Big Bang. So the term Big Bang is not atheistic. It's a description of God saying, "Let there be light," and wow, Big Bang. Okay, I don't want to offend anyone. Okay, so starting at page 76, you're first we're gonna do this. We're gonna go to the Embolden questions. If you're on page 23 here, you can see the main ideas. The cosmological argument is one of the strongest arguments that shows the universe had a beginning and supports the case for a theistic God. And then the terms you're going to learn are cosmological argument, second law of thermodynamics, general relativity, Coulomb argument, law of causality. So this is a lot of science and philosophy in this chapter. So it is true that the theistic God exists. This is evidenced by the beginning of the universe. So this is our first argument for the existence of God, the beginning of the universe. Now we'll look at the Embolden. We'll look at Embolden question 1. So what would you say to someone who asked you why you believe God exists? Yes.
Our world's too perfect. Too not
It's designed, isn't it? Perfect. Yes, and that's going to be another point. Anybody else? Yes.
There has to be a cause.
What caused the Big Bang? Who caused? If there was literally nothing in time or space, then wouldn't that cause have to come from outside? Because there was no time. What do you suppose Albert Einstein meant when he said science without religion is lame, religion without science is blind?
Of each other, science, religion.
What do you think he means by lame? Is that,
can't support it.
yeah, it doesn't work, right? If someone is lame, then they can't, their limbs don't work correctly. So not lame like it's stupid. But I mean, it probably is. So yeah, science without religion doesn't work. But then religion without science,
Can't know anything.
right, is not looking at the whole truth. Now, atheistic scientists aren't looking at the whole truth too. We need both. I mean, God created science. I should work, but He created science. So we need both. So why is it important? I'm not. Why is it important that Christianity is built on reason and faith?
well, in all religions, you need to have some kind of faith because you kind of have evidence that proves everything. So you have to have something to get you past that, but you also need enough reason to get you to the point where you can't make it up. Like, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. There's not enough facts to get me where I can believe.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you gotta have faith to faith to faith. Yes, but we also have to have good reason. It's not an either or, it's both and. I mean, Christianity is built on faith, but it's also based on reason. We have a good reason to believe what we believe. That's what this whole year is about. We have good reason to believe. Not blind. So you're going to spend then the rest of the hour completing equipped questions 1 through 5. And if you get that done, if you don't get it done, then please complete the homework. But if you don't get it done, please leave your books facing upside down on the table back there. Okay? And you can work together.
What's your